Hello YouTube, today a short lore story. Today we are covering the story of the legendary First Era Reachmen king, Faolan Red Eagle. This subject was requested a while ago by the user Floris Walden, and after accidentally doing the Red Eagle quest again, I decided to do this video. So, without any further ado, let's immediately kick off with the video. Back in the First Era, deep within the crimson blossom overgrown, sundered hills of the Reach, a Reachmen child was born. At the moment of this child's birth, an eagle screeched, and his parents decided to call the child Red Eagle, after the bird that marked his birth and the blossom that grew on the hills where he was born. Red Eagle in the Reachmen language translates to Faolan, and this became his name to the Reachmen, Faolan. The wise men of the Reachmen kingdom that he was born in foresaw a destiny riddled with combat and great deeds for the little boy. They saw him rising to king, and as king unite the Reachmen kingdoms into the unified kingdoms of the Reach. At the time, the Reach was divided in 10 small kingdoms that were not very densely populated but were always at war with each other. Over the years, the young Faolan became stronger, and when he became the king of the Sundered Hills, all things pointed to him becoming the true king of his destiny. Over the years he quickly united the Reachmen kingdoms, and under his rule the great kingdom of the Reach prospered. However, the kingdom would soon be put to the test, as in the south the united kingdoms of the Reach were bordered by the Alessian Empire, now under the rule of the expansionist Empress Hestra, who was busy with attempting to admit High Rock into the Alessian Empire. The easiest way for her to do this would be crossing the kingdoms of the Reach to gain a direct supply line to High Rock. And so it was that after only a few years of unity, the 10 united kingdoms of the Reach were invaded by the Imperial legions of Empress Hestra. One by one the kings of the Reach were defeated, and Hestra came closer and closer to the Sundered Hills, which was Faolan's kingdom. Then, however, betrayal came. The nobles on King Faolan's council betrayed him to the Empire. They ousted him from the council and they swore alliance to Empress Hestra. Faolan was enraged by this, and so were a lot of his people. He and the most loyal followers of him disappeared into the hills before the Imperial Legion arrived to take control of the Sundered Hills. In the following years, Faolan led a rebellion against the Empire by deploying guerrilla tactics on the Imperial Legion. These attacks were quite successful and killed a lot of soldiers of the Imperial Legion, but the more soldiers they killed, the more soldiers seemed to replace them and came from the south. One night, while he and his men were preparing for the next day around a large campfire, they were approached by a cloaked stranger. This stranger turned out to be a hag raven who offered Faolan great power in exchange for his heart. He accepted, and that night he was turned into a fearsome Briarheart. With his newfound powers as a Briarheart, he wreaked havoc upon the Imperials, and he and his rebellion grew in size until they were able to take back all of the Reach in a large-scale uprising and military conflict that took 2 years. They had a temporary peace, but not a peace that would last, as Empress Hestra now sent the full power of the Imperial Legion upon them. People at the time described it as a force like never before, likely summoned from both Cyrodiil, High Rock and the parts of the Hammerfell that the Empire controlled. Being attacked from 3 sides, the Reachmen did not endure long. After just a few weeks, they had reached the Sundered Hills and laid siege to Faolan's castle for 2 days. Until finally the Imperials had breached the castle and Faolan Red Eagle came walking through the gates. He came walking to the Empire with nothing but his sword. He then stood alone against the Imperial armies and, according to legend, slew 1,000 soldiers before finally being put down by the Legion. His broken but still living body was retrieved by the few remaining followers in the chaos that ensued at the castle when it was being overrun by Imperials. They dragged his body to the tomb that they had been preparing for him in the final days of the war. Within the tomb, he presented his sword to his few remaining followers, and he swore an oath to them. He swore that if they would fight on until the Reach would be free, that when they would return his blade to his tomb, he would rise again to rule the Reach with them. He gave his life, his dream and sword for his people, and died there in his tomb. but his legend survived, and in the second era he was once revived by someone who dedicated her life to the legend. However, when the scholar discovered that the Red Eagle had become corrupted, she immediately sealed the tomb again, and took the sword with her. She apparently lost the sword, and let the Red Eagle lay dead in his tomb once more, only to be resurrected in the 4th era when the player of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim stole his sword from some remaining Reachmen, now called the Forsworn, and ultimately slew him, and ended the greatest king the Reachmen had ever known. Well guys, I hope you liked the video. If you did, like, subscribe, do all those things. If you want personal contact with me, there is my Instagram and my Discord in the description. Also in the description is my Patreon. If you want to support me in a more personal way, then you get your name at the end of every video. And also some unique Patreon perks and a unique Patreon Discord server on which I have notifications on and on which I nearly always respond, unless I'm working on a video, of course. So, I hope to see you in the next video, and yeah, I'll see you later.